All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to the call today. It is Friday, September the 8th of 2017. This is the TRC sales training call. I want to get right after it, but I'm going to put a word on the table today that matters to everybody, and that is prospecting. You need to figure out how to prospect. And now that brings up a lot of conversation about, well, what does that mean? Does it mean cold calling? No, prospecting is the act of trying to create prospects. You can create them directly from open houses, door knocking, your friends, giving out business cards. All of it works that way. So all of it's sales to a certain extent, right? And sales is all these words, prospecting and sales, they always screw us up. We always get thrown off by them and what they mean. They make us nervous. There's no selling. There's only guidance, right? If you can really take a concierge attitude, you'll be able to create more prospects than you ever imagined. And that's important to remember here. A concierge attitude makes the sale invisible, but it doesn't mean that it's non-aggressive. You need to be proactively pursuing the creation of prospects and elevating them up to a client status regularly. That's how this business works. So as much as we use words concierge and guidance and all that, it's aggressive concierge and guidance. When somebody's going the wrong way, tell them. When you think you're the best choice for them, tell them, okay? Active, proactive conversations that lead to prospects, okay? All right, I'm going to open it up. I would love somebody to get me started so I don't have to ask. Otherwise, I have to guide the call and pick a topic, okay? So here we go. I'm going to unhold you all. Oh, by the way, remember, if you're in a noisy spot, that's fine. Hit *6 to mute your microphone, *7 to unmute your microphone. But don't learn from the bleachers. Be proactive. Kick your way to the front of the line here and ask a question. That's how we find the content for the call. Okay, here we go. We good? We rolling? Oh, hang on. We're not rolling. Hang on. How about now? We good?
Danny, can you hear me?
Yep, I've got you, Doug. Go ahead, buddy. You're in the hot seat.
Yeah, okay, Danny, I've been doing what you're telling me, okay?
Yep.
And that is not be aggressive, but not be salesy.
Yes.
And so what I've done is I've connected with a lot of people, and I went back to, well, I've got a lot of really good leads, and I just want to continue following up with them and develop some certainty in what the process is.
Beautiful.
So
all right, that's cool.
I've developed good communication, good relationships, a
Yeah.
good reason for my next call back.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to make my first mailing to about 5 different people.
Okay. All right,
What
good.
should that mailing be?
Yeah.
And
All right, let's make it.
go over with-
Doug, we have to make sure this is a sales-oriented thing. I'll dabble a wee bit as marketing as a support cast for you selling. I'll dabble a wee bit. It's a fair question, and I know it's on everybody's mind because selling these days, you actually open up a good can of worms. Selling these days is a layered approach, and we were talking about this with the mastermind members just the other day. As we build out the whole index for a franchise prototype, Doug, we look at layering. So what we did in our mind map with the group is that we said, okay, number one is a mindset. And that mindset, Doug, is to say, how does the business really work? So the next beat that came in was this word prospecting, where we understand now that when we're prospecting, that's the way the business works. If you don't go out and get people who are willing to talk to you about buying and selling property, and if you're a broker and you're adding, or team member, leader, and you're adding people, agents. So there's 3 people that we need to prospect for constantly. And the way that you do that best is by going face to face, Doug, right? We all know that. So now you said, I've got a couple of leads. I want to make sure that everybody on this call or anybody watching online understands fully what I mean when I say the difference between a lead and a prospect. It becomes very important because prospecting or creating people that will become clients does not require lead generation. Let that sink in for 1 second here. That's going to sound contrary to what most of you have learned before, but it's true, and I'll prove it to you. If I go into an open house this weekend and somebody walks through the door and they're in my face and I am ready not only with that property information, Doug, but also the infographics that explain the buying or selling process the way that I see it, I am in a direct prospect conversation right there, right? Because I'm able to determine in that moment of time what their timing is, what their interest is. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay, so now Go back to the beginning of your question and tell me, what are you referring to when you say leads? Tell me about them. Doug? Hello. Yeah, buddy, we lost you there. Had you? Now we lost you. Hang on one second. Your mic is muted for some reason. Go ahead, Doug. Sorry, I lost you there. You should be there now. You there?
Can you hear me?
I can. So explain to me what the lead is, because I have to have that context first.
Okay, well, let me change that from lead to prospect, meaning lead, a phone number to call, and a classification of what their situation is. Prospect, somebody who I've identified their motive, their timeline,
Yes.
what they want and what they're looking for, and I want to just continue touching them.
Yes, and they're willing to continue that conversation with you, presumably. Presumably a prospect is somebody that you've had some dialogue with, whether it be phone, text, or email. I'll take any of them, okay? But you have a sense of the fact that they will talk to you on an ongoing basis, number one. And number two, that you know their timing and level of interest to a certain extent. I can't stand this line, buyers or liars. If they're lying to you, that's because they want you to go away because you're bothering them. Right? That's what that means. If you're guiding them, you're getting a little bit deeper. Okay, good. There's the context. So now tell me, in the prospects that you've created, these are some people that you're already talking to, or are we talking about, you wanted to ask a question about marketing as it supports sales. Are we talking about to a lead or to a prospect you're already talking to?
To a prospect I'm already talking to. I guess what the real question is, you know, since I've established the non-sales approach, the coming from contribution,
right?
I want more layers to that.
Good.
And I'm looking for more ways of continuing.
Excellent question. Now we're talking. Let me say this. In the context of a seller or a buyer, we'll start with those two. Once we've created that prospect, that doesn't mean that they are deeply educated on our strategic approach. Okay? Let's get that very clear. What it simply means is that we've made some contact and they're probably looking at homes for sale online with or without our website, or they're starting to begin to talk to us about how to prep their home for sale. What's the market like? What's their current value? All that sort of thing, okay? Those are all the types of conversations that may or may not be going on. So in that context, what is it that ultimately we're trying to get with a prospect? We're trying to get face-to-face. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And when you go face-to-face, what do you give them?
Value.
Okay. In what form?
A flyer where you educate them on the process.
Good. But again, let me help you. It's a presentation. Hold on. Let me cheat. I screwed you up. It's a presentation, right? You're trying to go face to face so that you can present to them. That's what you're trying to do, right? Forget about the tools for a second. You started to rattle off the tools. We're trying to get face to face so that we can present ourselves to them, so that we fortify the relationship so they indeed do something with us. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now go into the materials. You know, because I've taught you this in the Campfire Coaching Group, I've taught you this. What is the tool that I use when I go face to face with, let's use sellers for a second. What's the tool I use?
The 7-step home seller.
It's called a what?
Course.
Yep. Well, that too. There's two forms of it. What are they called? I'm trying to just walk you through the obvious. No trick question here.
One's the 7 steps on a single page, and the other one's the seller's, the home seller's booklet that you have.
You got it. So state it this way. We have the booklet form of the home seller course, which is the deepest dive with a lot of words in it, and we have the infographic form. But they are the same piece of educational information. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what I'm trying to get into the house of the seller prospect to discuss. So I could bring them both. I could bring one. I like to cheat towards the infographic because it's the simplification of the process. I want to show them that strategic approach. Now, you got it. Now, you're trying to get in to give that, but if you're coming from that place of contribution, which you've understood, you can supplement that waiting period before you get in with what? That course either delivered all at once or broken down into pieces. So if you talk to me on the phone and you say, hey, Danny, I saw that you came into the website looking for a home evaluation, or hey, Danny, I saw that you expired, or hey, Danny, I see that you're the executor of an estate. Whatever my context is, you say, hey, I think I can help you. And the universal piece of information that I have that can help any seller is this course that I have. So I'm going to send it out to you. Now, the way that you send it out to me can vary. You can send it to me all at once, Doug, as a gift. So, for example, to expireds, we're going to send a cover letter. We're going to send the booklet form because it's thicker and deeper dive, and a tacit light CMA that basically just shows a radius of solds. Out that's going to go as a gift package. If you want to cut that up and have a longer term follow-up, you simply take the components of that booklet and you break them up into mailers. That make sense?
Yes.
And I have the mailers almost done, which, by the way, you've been helping me stay on. We're in the final stage of the designer, just a couple of headline tweaks. So you will actually have 7 mailers, right?
Okay.
So there you go, 7 mailers.
Thank you.
So that's what it will look like. But I want you to understand this. It's delivering the same information you're giving the prospect that you're trying to sell into being a client. It's the same information. If there's a core piece of evergreen educational information, that's it. That make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So you're sending that, and then when you're calling over a longer period of time, you actually have some context, right? Hey, I don't know if you got last month's thing that I sent you, but it says this, right? So now you have some context.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Oh, that's a kind of a tacit okay. Like, engage me more.
Oh, no.
Yeah, come on in.
No.
Thoughts about this?
Oh, no. That's exactly what I was asking for, Danny. You answered the question beautifully, and you just gave me I was asking for how to add layers to my process, and you gave me the ABCs. Thank you.
And Doug, you know what the danger is this? If we create a prospect who's long-term and we're following up, okay, guess what happens? We don't know what to say. And when we don't know what to say, we sound like what? We're out of that mode that you started. The reason you turned them into a prospect and they liked you to begin with was what you said. You're using a very powerful word. You came from a position of contribution. I'm contributing information to help you make this decision. And I've been sending you support documentation to continue that education in a different media, which is not me just speaking at you. It's actual physical flyers, booklets, etc. Those are coming to you. And it could be in a third form, emails, videos. There's so many forms that this evergreen content could take. But you have to understand it all is just the repurposed information that you would give me if we were face to face. And I said, give me your elevator speech. George Muttart was asking that same question today. Why I have to come up with a better answer. Why me? Because I take a professional strategic approach to helping you sell your property that covers a 7-step process, right? The first thing that we're going to discuss is what price range today in as-is condition your property would fall. Then I'm going to teach you how to move up the ladder by reconditioning or pricing out deferred maintenance items. Then we're going to talk about either us staging it and minimizing it together or hiring somebody. Then and only then am I going to be able to take this digital footprint of the property, get it up online so that we can do 2 types of marketing. 1 is syndication marketing. Two is push marketing, where I go and open house it, push it around the internet, and make something happen. That will lead to communication with buyers and their agents, who will tell us where we stand according to the way they see the market. We'll make our tweaks so that we can get into a negotiation, and we'll close it with care. Bang. That's an elevator speech version of what we're trying to educate this person on, this prospect on, over time. So if I got face-to-face with you and you forced me to do it that quickly, boom, I can do it. Because all I had to do was memorize 7 bullet points. That's it. And I don't mean the words I used at each one, because it's probably a wee bit different every time it comes out of my mouth. But if that's been now coming to you, and if you just say to me, all right, Danny, I like that, stay in touch. You just forgot everything I just said. So in order to not have you forget everything I just said, what I'm going to do next then is I'm going to make sure that I then drip that out to you Again, I chop it up into longer term pieces where I take a little piece of what I just said, I expand it a little bit more, I change its medium delivery, meaning it might come in an email, it might come in a video, it might come in direct mail. So all the while, because I've got that time frame, Danny says, yep, I like you, Doug, but I got about 6 months to go before I make a decision. So now, Doug, you've got a 6-month mailer that you can send to him, which is what? The first 6 steps of that. And maybe even get in the 7th one before he's good to go. And maybe he reads a little bit. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But it's all that layered approach to developing, delivering insight so that you're positioning yourself differently. I am a strategist, and I'm going to continue to strategically educate you so that when it comes time to make a decision about who, you're already there with me. I'm not starting cold. See, most people that long-term prosper, well, first of all, the great prospectors out there are cream skimmers first. Most of us that are good at this know instantly if we're in an open house and that's a today buyer, we know it. We sense it. We can see it. And we can make that happen. But for the majority of the business to be steady and consistent, we need to take that person who's not ready today, and we need to know how to help them, which eventually is an invisible sale over the long period of time. So there you go, Doug. There's my most thorough answer on how layers of what you say in a sales context through the prospect long-term nurture process is supported by marketing or other mediums.
Thank you, Danny. That was superb.
Cool. Who has a question about that along with Doug jumping in the hot seat? Who do I have out in Seattle? I got a mic out there that's dying to talk, I can tell. Who's that Cantu?
Hey, Dan.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
I'm probably the guy out in Seattle.
Yeah, you're the guy. And guess what? You get to be, well, I'm actually going away, Patrick. I know you won't believe that, for a week, starting the 16th. And I'm going to reach out to you to ask you for some help to run this call in 2 weeks. So pay attention. Okay. I knew you'd love that, right? You love when I surprise you, don't you, brother?
Oh, I love it, yeah. Sure.
All right.
I'll have to drink a whole pot of coffee.
Yeah. I'll get you help. Don't worry. Yeah, but you know what we'll do? We'll put your team in the hot seat in a couple of weeks, and that'll be good, right? Be a little transparent training.
We've got this, we've got our new, I know you've already spoken with him, but our new ISA, Adam is listening on the call right now.
Cool.
And, I've been doing role play calls with him, every day towards the end of, our work day. And I got to say, he sounds really good, especially for somebody, he's been doing it for a while, but for somebody who's kind of just jumping into our, Cantu group real estate / Realty classroom world, sales world, he's caught on to it super quick. And so we're really excited about this guy. Yeah,
cool. Hi, Adam.
Hi, how's it going, Danny?
Good, brother. So tell me,
great to hear.
Yeah, Adam. So Adam, you're making live calls now, right? You're already in the game?
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. Tell me about the biggest challenge you face at the moment on the phone, other than just role playing over with Patrick, and that's why I'm asking him. And, if we can get Paul in a couple of weeks, we'll put him back in the hot seat, Pat, too. But Adam, what do you feel in a hot market like Seattle is the biggest challenge for you?
Let's see.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure, go ahead, Patrick.
You brought something up to me yesterday that is a huge challenge, and it's even a challenge for me because Adam came to me with this question, and I have a hard time answering it. A big roadblock that our salespeople are hitting is, when they're calling sellers, it's the seller going, well, I'd like to sell my house because I know the value is really high, but then where am I going to live? Because all the other houses in Seattle are also expensive.
Yeah.
So what do I do?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's one that Adam brought up yesterday, and I'd like to pose to the group, because I know everybody's hearing. I know lots of people are hearing that. I wonder what people are saying is sort of a rebuttal to that, or how do you come back to that?
Well, tell me, Adam, how you come back to it. Give it a shot.
That's something that I've actually been stuck on. Usually, my response after I hear that, I say, I ask them if they haven't thought about downsizing. I really have no idea how else to take that call because, I guess they're right. Yeah, their house might sell for a lot of money, but another similar house might be worth the exact amount of money they just sold their house for. So I'm not really sure how I could respond to that, or what's the best way to come back.
All right, so give me this.
How to reply to that?
Say the scenario again. Give me the exact verbiage that you hear. Not Adam, I want to hear it from you. Go ahead.
Okay. I would ask them, hey, well, it's a really great seller's market right now. People are really getting top dollar for their homes. You haven't considered selling your home? And they would say, we've thought about it. We know it's a great seller's market, but we don't think we could afford another home in the same area for the money that we would be selling our home for, or even a better home.
Okay, so in other words, they want to move up or down, because you mentioned down.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you see? Is it that they're worried about moving up? So give me a little, Patrick, you can jump back in here too. What's the context? Are these move up Seattle buyers or move down? Downsizers or upsizers?
Well, a lot of the people that Adam has called are actually, he's cold calling people.
Yep.
And so he's talking to people who haven't really indicated one way or the other if they want to downsize or upsize.
Cool.
So I think, where this is I can kind of see where this is going, and it's an issue of motivation. Are you motivated to sell your house or not? Otherwise, I think we're just having a conversation of, yes, your home is worth a lot. Yes, other homes in Seattle cost a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to move?
Yeah.
And maybe the answer is no.
That's
maybe
a real.
We have to move on. I don't know.
Well, see, Patrick, we go through this with sale, and everybody should be leaning in on this too. Whether a team leader or that's giving out leads to people or asking them to do things and expecting a result. I've said this before in a couple of weeks in a row. I've harped on it. The genesis of that contact matters because look, here's a talented guy. You can listen to Adam for 3 seconds. He's smooth. He's articulate. He listens. He's the guy for the job. There's no doubt about it. But the question is, what's the context we're throwing him into? So I'm glad you gave it to me. If indeed you're throwing him into a cold calling situation, what's the purpose? What's the outcome desired? So in other words, give me the list that he was calling and why.
Okay, yeah. So basically what we've been doing is if we have a home sale in a certain neighborhood, Adam's company can actually pull a big list of phone numbers in that neighborhood. So basically, Adam's calling and say, hey, just giving you a quick call to let you know that, well, first off, I'm Adam, with Cantu Group Real Estate, and I'm just giving you a call to let you know that we just sold a property over at 123 Main Street for well over the asking price, and I was just calling to follow up and see, or not follow up, but calling to see if you're actually considering selling your home in the next 1 to 3 or 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, and so it's
just kind of, and he's making, and it's more of a volume game when we're doing these calls.
Sure.
So yesterday, I think he made almost 1,000 calls.
Yep. And Adam, what was it like to make 1,000 dials?
Well, I had an automatic dialer, so it wasn't that hard. It's a numbers game. You get a lot of no's, but you're just waiting for that 1 or 2 yeses a day.
Yeah.
I was able to get a seller, so I was happy about that. She's about a year out, so we're going to be following up with her to see how things are going in the next couple of months. But yeah, it's mostly no's. It's mostly no's. It's people who they're asking why are they being called. I guess you get that on every single cold call or most of them. But yeah, Patrick just said my script. I think it's a pretty good script. It's a solid script.
Well, the script is Adam. The script is fine, and you're fine. It's the context that you're calling into. There's certain expectations, and I don't know what Paul and Patrick have in line for you. But look, here's what I've said. Let's go back to strategic approach. You always have to take a heartbeat to figure out, about strategic, right? Always. You have to think about this. What we're thinking about is you have to say, hey, if I call an expired or a massive list of expireds for 365 days a year, I am talking to people who have already established that they were motivated to try to sell their property and to try to sell it with a realtor. I know those two things for sure. There's no guessing. Versus when I call an entire area, it's a random walk through a neighborhood playing the massive game that maybe there's a fish in the ocean versus the pond I just referenced. So the context is different. And I think strategically speaking, if you don't think about sales strategically, well, then this is what it ends up being. A random walk where we always want to go back to the script or the words or the role play before we go to the strategy. It makes no sense. I have people that prospect aggressively with door knocking and circle prospecting via the phone, just like you're doing. But without a strategy, without an answer, I mean, a way that you're doing, why are we there? What is the expectation, right? Does that make sense? Patrick, so like what else is he doing besides this?
Oh yeah, so this is certainly not what he's doing exclusively. So we also have him calling our, prime seller leads who have come in on our website for this, free home evaluation. We have him calling our buyer leads who are checking out houses on our websites and expires and all that kind of stuff. We hadn't even really considered doing this until we came across Adam's company, which is called Power ISA.
Yeah.
And they kind of told us, this is one of the things that we really excel at, calling a big list of names after you guys do a home sale or when you guys have an open house. This is one of our things that we do. And so we're kind of just using it as a part of our overall strategy to just reach out to home sellers. And it's a brand new thing for us,
Patrick?
too. And so, like, as far as expectations go, it's super new for us. So we're kind of, we're really happy with Adam's, ability to make these calls. And,
Patrick, I think it's good.
We're just kind of testing the waters right now.
Well, Patrick, I think it's good, but let me give you some context here that I think is even better. I think, and we did this on the mastermind call yesterday, as we organize this concept of what, if we're going to do calling around an area, and I can see Paul Mihalowicz is online. Paul's one of our best prospectors too. Like I would say, he's the best one at it because that's what he's been trained to do. But I said the same thing. I think that prospectors who are calling, if you have to see this as different things. I would always exhaust expireds. I would exhaust probates. And I would exhaust maybe FSBOs if you like those too. Those are listing opportunities, potentially, where we know there's motivation to a certain extent or a high extent. Okay, let's call it medium to high. They're in there. But if I come over to circle prospecting, that's not necessarily so. There's a different reason for doing that. So what I would say is as time goes on and Adam's company is adept at this, and I know that the Cohen brothers do this too, this concept of circle prospecting, circling an area that's bigger and going after that entire area with a dialer and phone numbers. But you have to understand why you're doing it. I think in a perfect world, you list a property, you call. Hey, we just listed your neighbors. Do you know anybody that might want it? I mean, that's how you double end a listing. That's how you get proactive. That's called push marketing. That's a very good thing to be able to tell your sellers this is what we did, right? So you go out there and you attack circle prospecting from just listed. Right? Now, of course, if you have an open house, you can hit it again. Hey, we talked to you the other day and, just want to let you know this weekend there's an open house. You're driving traffic again. And the last one would be, hey, we finally sold it. So I draw this area, again, presuming from your strategic marketing standpoint that you want to sell more in this area. You narrow that market niche. A lot of people, like I said, you guys, Paul Mihalowicz, since he's on here, I'm thinking of he's got this golf course community that we wanted to target. We can't just randomly keep going after this big farm and not have the circle prospecting or cold calling mentality to make a footprint in a particular area. So if you get that listing in that area you want, I would use all of those reasons to make a phone call. We just listed it. We're open housing it. We just sold it. And along the way, hey, have you thought about selling yours? I mean, we're getting a lot of interest. When we sold this, we had a ton of overflow buyers. We need more inventory. Have you ever thought about selling yours? Not just randomly, hey, are you thinking about selling? Give them a reason. Seattle is a white-hot market, and we need more inventory. When we sold this one, we had multiple bids. It was gone in a week. Yes, but, now watch the context come back to you guys. Yes, but if we sell this, where the heck are we going to go? Well, what we could at least do for you is give you an analysis of what yours is worth. And then what were you thinking? Were you thinking downsize, upsize? Now, Adam, I have a conversation going. Now, Patrick, I have context for follow-up because the problem has been given to me. So I'm now, we're all the way back to your question. Now it's like, well, how do I solve their problem? Give them some math. Most people won't make a move because you're not giving them any math. You're not solving that problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so, and that is a good response, Adam, too. Just, okay, so, when they say, well, I know it's a seller's market, but, where am I going to move because everything else is so expensive? Well, Yeah, I totally get that. How about we just shoot you a preliminary market analysis that's just going to show you, what your home is likely to sell for in today's market, then you can make a more informed decision. Does that sound good?
Yeah, or even a little bit even deeper. Well, in our experience, we find that if we evaluate somebody's property and show them what they'd walk away with, at least then you know what's in your hands so that you could go buy the next one. And then what we would do as part of that process, when you find out how much money you can go shopping with, we'll show you what that actually bought in this market. That way, at the very least, we have given you the entire view, the accurate view based in fact, not fiction. Here's what you're going to walk away with most likely. Here's what it actually buys. If that works for you, let's do this.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah,
because it's all right, cut to the chase. What is the problem? The problem is we don't do the math for them. See, this is why I say the CMA with technical analysis. Let's shift gears here because we're halfway through. I'll go right into outside sales. In outside sales, when I walk into the property, look at it's hard too. I have sellers, who knows, they're probably watching this on my profile too, and I'm transparent with them. You can't leave me in the wrong price range no matter how good my marketing is, no matter how aggressive we are as a company. You can't leave me in the wrong price range. You can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to constantly look at the math with you. You can't make the math up. And the perception is, well, I think it's this, or it's too nebulous. We can't get home with a conversation even until the math is right. So I don't care what happens here tonight or who else you're interviewing. I want to go over the math with you. I am going to show you how you can move up the ladder. If you'd like to recondition your property and stage it, and even if you don't have the money to you can price out the big stuff. I'll bring you all my army of guys that will price it out. We need you to understand the math before this gets going. Because here's what's going to happen if you don't. In 2 weeks, you're going to call me back and go, what's the marketing plan again? What are you doing to market my house again? No, you didn't listen to me. You didn't listen to me. You have to hear me. This is math. Yes, I'm an expert marketer. Okay? Yes, I'm an expert negotiator, etc. Whatever you guys are or want to say you are. But if they don't listen to your strategy, and you have to be adamant about the fact that that's the right way that it goes. When I say adamant, that doesn't mean until you have a relationship, you can't be as aggressive as I'm being right now. But when you do, I'm very aggressive with my clients. They expect me to be out there in the octagon of real estate sales fighting this on their behalf. But they can't sit there and micromanage the process and tweak it and change it. No, none of that. The tooth fairy isn't going to come with a deal. If you're not priced right, it doesn't matter who it is. You've got to be in the right range or there's not even a low ball coming your way. So boys, you've got to get into that meat of this. You don't want to just make that conversation. Dude, Adam, if you're calling 1,000 people and you find those 2 people that you can talk to and you don't dig in, oh man, that's like a game. I don't know how old you are, but the game of chutes and ladders. You're climbing up the ladder. You finally get someone and you shoot all the way back down because you missed that next level. By the way, the next level, Patrick, is tougher. It's a little bit tougher, and then it gets really tough when they're your clients, right? Because people are anxious. They're upset. I've had 3 clients that I can think of in the last 30 days that were upset about the process, right? But I will tell you, 1 has done all the homework. The other 2, not so much. They haven't really listened along the way. That's okay. Are you listening today? Because here's the same story I've been trying to tell you all along. You have to hear me. This is the way that this goes down. There's nothing, and you're not going to go hire another realtor who's going to pull a rabbit out of their hat for you. Okay? Until we follow a strategic approach, we don't even know whether it will be good enough for you. So Adam, there's the real detachment for the outcome. If we could just get Paul to come over to your house and sit down, he'll go over the math of what you'd really walk away with in a market like this. He'll also come over, if you tell me now what your criteria are, he'll come over with some properties that have sold for what you'll walk away with most likely, so you can see if this is even worth it. And there's no skin off of Paul's back. This is what we do. Now you've made that opportunity for Paul to go in and make things happen. You got it?
I got it. Yeah. Sounds good.
Questions about that?
Thank you.
Thoughts, questions? From anybody. Anybody. Alan? Alan.
Just try to shoot for the appointment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Whenever you can.
Say that again.
So when it's a situation like that, you just try to shoot for the appointment. Let them know what options they have, right?
Only if the appointment is valuable to them at that moment. Okay? If you believe the appointment is valuable to them at that moment, if there's an opportunity that through face-to-face conversation, Paul can, or one of the agents, whomever you're booking these for, can go in and bring that person to the next level of understanding, go for that appointment. It's an educational, it's a deeper dive educational opportunity. That's how you ingratiate yourself to the prospect. You have a tougher time if all you're going to do is be following up. If you feel there's value in it, express it. Right? And Patrick, you need to work with Adam and the rest of the team. They need to be able to express the value of the appointment. If you are asking them to get an appointment, then they better believe in the value of that thing that they're offering. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go into that. Alan, get in here with me because now you've got a new responsibility to train some of these agents down there in Dallas, right?
Yes.
So I want to hear the value of an appointment. And again, I'll reiterate for everybody, and because I caught you off guard, I'll give you a little bit of context here. What I said to these guys is if they kill themselves making 1,000, cold calls to find a couple of prospect conversations from sellers, now there's the opportunity to go for a meeting that they believe is valuable. If we just leave this kind of thin soup sitting here and going, geez, thanks for talking to me. After 1,000 phone calls, I finally got somebody who said maybe within the next year. Yeah, maybe is ugly, right? I want something that is a little bit more tangible, right? Well, if you were to move, what would be the reason for moving, right? What would be? Well, we would really like to downsize. We'd really like to upsize. We'd really like to go there. Great. Is the value of the property, I mean, knowing that, is that important to you, or is it the process? Well, what is it that you need to know? See, because those are the two beats that most people, when they decide to move, they're actually thinking about when they're listing their house. They're thinking, what is this worth? Because I would move. Like I'm sitting here on Cape Cod. I would sell this and buy a smaller one here and buy one in Boston, but what is this worth? And how do I get ready? And what do I need to do? It's the same question over and over and over in this business. So Alan, if Adam is sitting on the phone and he gets somebody and he's in that context and he believes, if you're thinking about moving in the next 12 months, the value of the meeting is?
The value of the meeting is meeting with the value of the meeting to meet with us. Our
yes.
Client,
Yes. Why would if I'm not going to sell, for the next, hold on, Alan, stay with it. Go with it. What is the reason and the value of the meeting?
So, one that we can talk about the content, the process, so you can be educated about the process. And number two would be to see how the math would work. As you said, I thought you spelled that out really well. How the math would work, to see if it's something that would even work for you.
Sure. Perfect. And that last line is everything, I think. Because if we're early and you guys want the meeting, then there has to be value, but they have to understand it is truly and genuinely about them and educating them. Genuinely, right? So one of my current clients, we've had the darndest time with this house. We had a couple unlucky bumps and bruises, but she's the most educated client we've ever had because she took the entire home seller course. I went out there 3 times and met with her. We tweaked things. And then one of the reasons we had a bump, we had some unexpected stuff in a home inspection we didn't know about. So we had to deal with that. So it's this constant, never-ending education about all of it until the deal is done. Now, we're really close to a sale, but all that education had to happen. And so I was more than happy, Alan, to go out early and go over it with them. But she started with asking... Yeah, go ahead. Come on.
I get, because I think the deal is that we lose track of, we understand the process.
Right.
They don't. Buyer or seller do not understand the process. And if they feel the least bit overwhelmed, they do nothing.
Right. But I'll ask you this, Alan, I'll ask you this, though. I'll ask you to go back. Now that you're going to be a trainer manager, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to challenge you with this. Do we really know the process? You said we do.
In this group, we probably know this process better than most agents, but in the real world, I think I'm going to find that most of them don't, and I think that's my strength. These $20 million producers, I'm going to be curious to find out if these two $20 million producers really know what they're doing, or they just manage to stumble through it. And then the deal's going to be those $2 and $3 million producers is how to help them become a $5 or $10 million producer. And my gut tells me that they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they don't. They
based on the facts of our conversations.
Yeah. Well,
I sometimes don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Exactly.
After 25 years.
Well, there you go. There's the point. So I think what we have to do. I just cut a training video. Paul and Freda were pushing me to the last infographic of the 3 is the discussion about the agents and how the business really works. And I think this is a very, very important point here to make, is that this business works a particular way. And it works by creating prospects, which is a sales activity. Anybody that is in the sales business has to constantly create new prospects. Not leads. Leads are a whole different thing in my world. Leads are something that maybe we exchanged some information, got some contact information, maybe we bought it from a service provider, whatever, but we know nothing about them. A prospect is where your business will come from, and you have to be obsessed with doing that stuff, right? You have to be obsessed. So the key is, as you pay attention to that prospecting activity, you then have to have those people somewhere, from a wire rack to a digital connotation of it, and you have to follow up by educating the sale is invisible. If that includes you going out there and meeting with them, you're only deepening the relationship, and you're educating, you're being the one, you're becoming the one, you're the guy, you're the gal. So if there's a basic thing to understand, it's, I have 7 points, and this is in my world with, the TRC mastermind members, I have 7 points for sellers, 6 points for buyers, right? That's it. If you don't know those 2 things cold, then you don't know the value of your proposition. You don't know. In fact, George Moutart in our group, and I'll just say it's in our group and I'll be transparent, George is transitioning from being a long-time buyer agent who's really good at it to coming into working. He and David Whitehead are working with UpNest leads, and UpNest forces them to fill out a little formula. It's essentially the request for an elevator speech. Why you? If I'm going to list my property, why am I choosing you? It's the classic unique selling proposition. But the word unique scares everybody, and we get all stuck because we think we're supposed to reinvent something that's this esoteric thing, Alan. When the truth is, start with this: because I take a professional strategic approach. Well, what do you mean? Isn't every realtor professional? I'm not commenting about the people. I'm commenting about my approach to it. It's professional because I obsess over chunking up for you a strategy that's simple for you to understand, even though behind the scenes with me, it's very complicated. Well, what do you mean? Well, I have 7 steps. And the first thing is, unlike most people, I'm not coming in to yes you and agree to your price that you think it's worth. I do want to know what you think it's worth, because I want to see where your expectations at, where you're at with this whole thing. And then I'm going to show you the reality of the math. So the very first thing that I'm going to take in that professional strategic approach, discuss the potential trading range. Everybody says to me, what do you mean? That's a Wall Street term. Your stock will trade in this range. Your house will trade in this range. Financial assets trade, meaning sell, buy and sell, in a range. There's no perfect number. It kind of fluctuates up and down. So until we have that skill set, Alan, and that understanding that this is a financial instrument as much as anything else, how do we even start the conversation? Oh, you want to move up the value ladder because you don't like where the range is? Great. Let's walk through and talk about all the things you could do with blood, sweat, and tears, and then money to improve your property. Now, you should have been doing it all along. But since you weren't, here are my suggestions. Here's my team. Marcus Hines does this very well. He brings in a whole team and says, look, we'll manage the rehab. We'll bring it in. You want to spend some money to make some money? We will manage it all for you. And we will come in here and get it all ready for sale so that when sale time comes, A short version of that is let's get a seller home inspection so that you know exactly what you have. You think you know what you have and you're slapping a number on it, but until you get in the octagon of life in real estate and get punched in the nose by the buyer and you get all, uppity and mad. Oh, what are they seeing? Well, come on. Come on, don't sit here and turn a blind eye to everything you didn't do. And I'm exaggerating the point here, Alan, because what I'm trying to say without walking all the way through the 7 points again is that this is not a light conversation. This is not a light business. This is a large financial transaction. And if you don't sit down and lean in with people and be bold enough to say, I believe I have this in the right order, you don't have a chance to lead them. People want to know that you will lead them efficiently, honestly, genuinely, but effectively. They don't want milk toast. They want leadership. That makes sense?
No, I agree with that. And I think what hit me, you said, is one, know the context of who you're calling. Because if you don't, then you sound very salesy. And then number two is to have your elevator speech or to have your bullet points. I'm sitting here, I've got the seller system out, the buyer system out, and then there's also the probate, and all of those have little bullet points that you can hit the people with.
Right.
Just to remind them that they don't know what they don't know until they get in the process. And very, very interesting.
And Alan, I don't know
a lot of this stuff.
Correct. And that's okay. That's okay. I think the first thing is we're always trying to believe because we've been in it a long time and we're pretty good at it that we have it all. I learn something every day. It's amazing. That mastermind call yesterday where we were working on that, I've learned so much about that word prospecting in the last 60 days. It blows my mind. I've been doing this for 19 years, coaching it for 10 plus, right? And I am learning so much from that discussion with you guys. It's mind-blowing. So I think the first thing is a humility to say, we only know what we know, but we definitely don't know what we don't know. Having said that, with all the work that we put in, we know much more than the consumer. Much more. Not in every micro piece of it, but globally, much more. And I don't care if you're a rookie, you've been to school, you've done things that the consumer hasn't done. There's nothing worse than hearing the consumer say, oh, I've done this before. Oh my gosh, come on, stop. Don't go there. Because when you say that stuff, you're setting yourself up for some sort of a confrontation with the agent, with the process. Don't do that. Be open-minded. Say, I know this. What do you think? It's an open two-way discussion where we're always all trying to figure out how to win in that moment in time. Now, what helps you eliminate human discretion is the two stupidest simple things we've ever developed at the TRC, and those are these infographics. With confidence, you should be able to say, we take a professional strategic approach, and here's what they are. I have them in front of me. If you're online, you can see them, right? You want to practice over and over and over. By the way, if you're in the TRC group, meaning you're on the call live, not watching on TV here, I have this stuff all done up. See this whiteboard behind me here today? I've sat in front of it and done 2 training videos on these infographics for you. You should watch them and listen to them ad nauseum until you make the narrative your own. We have a strategic professional approach. We follow a strategy plan. And for listings, it sounds like this. We talk about how to price it right, how to move up the right price ladder through conditioning, how to stage the set, right? How to market it with push marketing and syndication marketing, how to properly communicate and make adjustments with buyers and their agents, how to negotiate properly using the same math we started with, and making sure we cross every T, dot every I, and be flexible during closing so we don't lose it. With the buyers, we express to them that representation matters. And in fact, your money, which is paying for the transaction, already has that incorporated in if you think and you want to use this correctly. So technically, representation is free. Now, you want your money in line because the seller wants to know that you have your money in line. So whether you're cash or financing, you want pre-approval or you want proof of funds. Then once that's in line and you know, okay, this is the person representing me, here's my money and what I really want to spend, let's start to look at what that money bought and what features you get. So you refine them ahead of time. Then you get out, see a few of your favorites while you're turning around, close the bullseye down in through touring, and then you're ready for negotiation through the same math we use when we help our sellers. And ultimately, the same closing process, making sure we don't screw up when it comes to your pre-approval, transferring money, etc. Period. Right? And you see, again, I have my cheat sheets in front of me because I don't want to use human discretion. Because I want to assume, Alan, that the person across the table from me is hearing it for the first time. Now, I might not have the infographic in my hand when I'm saying it, but I'm going to hit those beats so it's clear. Now, they might not remember everything. So going all the way back to Doug, what he said in the beginning, while you're working with me, you're going to get this educational series of seller emails that educate you, buyer emails. And if you're thinking about joining me as an agent, agent emails. You want to go deeper? I have courses, full-blown courses on all of them. That's the support cast for the sale, which is all about guidance. And Alan, one of the things I was going to say when you're talking before, the minute we worry about me, I in our mind. Am I perfect? Do I know these beats? Am I clear? It comes across that way, and that's why people don't like us when we sound salesy. Because the internal dialogue is me, I am not fully prepared. So I've got to go and try to wrestle this, right? And it doesn't work like that. Make sense?
It does.
Cool.
It does.
Cool.
Yep.
So it's... It's with confidence that when you teach these agents that we start off with ourselves. I mean, I don't think people believe me when I tell them, I don't care how many millions of dollars the house is worth. People are people. They're busy. They do other things than this. I'm the professional. You're the professional. Here's the strategy I know works. This is the one I follow. And when people listen to me, they might not love what the market would bear for their property. They might not like what they had to pay when they purchased. I understand that. That's an economic circumstance that nobody can control. If you have to buy or sell, you're stuck in the economic circumstance within which you have to do that transaction. We don't really have control over that. Yeah. But we can control the process to do the best we can in that given economic circumstance. That makes sense?
And that's a hard discussion to have with your client. But, I'm sure the same thing in Seattle is what we're dealing with Dallas. And you have to sometimes tell your buyer client that this is the market and what they're looking for does not exist. And we're going to either have to, and sometimes you say, maybe this isn't the right market for you right now.
That's bravo. Bravo for the last comment.
If they want to, get upset sometimes about the multiple offers, you can empathize with them. Say, I understand it is frustrating when you have to go into a multiple offer situation, but it is the market that we're in. And, we'll do everything we can to guide you through that. Are you up to that? And, sometimes they'll say, yes, we are. And sometimes they'll say, yes, we are. And 3 weeks down the road, they're saying, this is too emotional.
I love it.
Okay, then what do you want to do?
Alan,
because I can't change it.
Alan, so and you and I talk about a lot about this one-on-one. There is a super fine balance for us to really, we're just trying to balance this whole thing out where we're aggressive at the right times, but they understand us. That's a deep level of trust. I work really hard for my clients so that they will trust me, so that I can go there with them. You have to be careful when you do that and how you do that. Yep. That's the art form here, is the ability, and that's to trust yourself. But I'll tell you what really helps us all out, regardless of skill level. And this is the thing that Alan and I talk about. I want you to understand this, is that if you will really come from a point of contribution, like Doug said earlier, because that's something he picked up from me when we were talking about he was guinea pigged himself here, came on here, threw himself in, and he went and did a script, and it was awesome. And we're like, you know what? That doesn't sound genuine. That doesn't sound like a human being talking to a human being that cares. It sounds like a me. Somebody's taught you a certain thing to get a certain result. It doesn't work like that. That'll scare, well, it does to some extent. But what works better what's a better practice in the long run, makes a better echo and a footprint, is when you genuinely believe what Alan just said at the end. Maybe now is not the right time for you. So Adam, if you're still listening, maybe now's not the right time, but I suggest that I have Paul come over, and what he'll do is he will sit down with you and he will show you exactly what your property's worth today and how you can even improve its value today so that you know what you'd walk away with. And he'll also bring with you, because I'll let him know that you'd be looking to downsize. So when he sees what you're walking away with, we'll show you what that money actually bought in the last 90 days, so you know. That's how you tie this all together, right? Is that contribution, if I can get the value in an appointment, is that I will contribute to your knowledge at such a deep level, I will empower you to make a decision as to whether now is the right time or the wrong time for you. There's the real point here. Give this information, empower them to make a decision that's right, and you will have ingratiated yourself because they'll appreciate that. You know what? After all the hard work, we just did that with a guy. After all the hard work you did, I've decided I'm going to hang on to it for a couple more years. I'm going to put a renter in there for 24 months. I really appreciate what you guys did and how you followed up. Keep in touch, because there is nobody else when it comes time to list. We heard that, right? Now, me, I. Yeah, go ahead.
Will probably honor that.
Well, if I follow up and stay in touch like I have,
Sure.
Yes. If I don't, maybe, right?
Yep. Right.
All right, guys that participated today, Doug, Adam, Patrick, and Alan. Comments here, thoughts here. What did you hear today that made a little tweak? Thoughts?
Offering value, offering things of value to the customer. I really like that. If it's not the right time, it's not the right time. But just make sure they know what their options are. Just make sure they're well informed in what they can do and what they can do from whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah.
If they're trying to sell, trying to upsize, downsize, or just change location, just let them know what their options are. Offer them things of value.
And
market analysis.
Yes, exactly. And in your case, it's the potential meeting or follow up through, I don't know who's going to be sending the home seller course or home buyer course or infographics. You'll sit with Patrick and you'll talk about that. You're right. It's not just the value. It's also like one of my inside sales agents, Colleen, I kept saying to her, Adam, look at the gift that we're giving them is access to these properties and they can see this. She said, no, it's not. I said, really? What do you think it is? She said, it's us. You pay for us to be on the phone talking to these people, helping them. That's a service, Danny. We sit there and we help them for 24 months, 36 months. Maybe it's shorter, but we help them and you pay for that. That's a tremendously good free service. That's what it is. And that's what you're teaching us to do anyways, be concierge. So it took one of my own ISAs to give me perspective as things were changing with the digital age. It's not just access to homes. Anybody gives that. Zillow's made that a commodity, right? That's nothingness. Yeah. What matters is help making sense of all that information. What matters is strategic advice so that they can be empowered to make a right decision now or later, right? So keep going deeper into that, Adam. Don't leave it up there thin soup. Okay. Go into the steak. Get down there. Say, I believe that if the math worked, would you move? Yes. Then let me send Paul, because the value of Paul coming is really deep dive. He will at least, hear me out on this one, he will at least leave you with a powerful set of knowledge or ideas and insights that will give you the knowledge you need to make your own decision. Patrick, what do you think about that? Yeah?
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think, as long as, just to expand on that a little bit, as long as we're not, sending Paul, one thing that I know for a fact that Paul doesn't want to do is, go meet with a seller who just wants a market analysis because they want a market analysis and they really have no desire to sell within the next year.
Yeah.
That's one thing that, which does make this whole thing a little bit more difficult. But if they're ready to make a move, if the numbers work, then yeah, for sure.
But in this case,
but
remember,
what we want to carefully avoid.
Yeah.
It's something we need to carefully avoid is people who just want a market analysis, and we send Paul all the way. We send him on a half-hour-long drive to who knows where, and he gives them a market analysis and says, okay, well, are you ready to make a move? Oh, I was just curious to see how much.
Yeah, no, not that, Patrick. But we had context here today. Let's go back to it. He had somebody that said inside the next year they would move. Would you move sooner than that if the math worked? That's his next question, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. So as long as that gets established, we're good for sure.
Awesome, Alan.
And I think that's a great way of looking at it, and I really appreciate the help there with that kind of challenge that we've both been facing. And I think it's really it's a win-win too, especially when we are making those big call lists and we're circle prospecting. If you can come back to that and say, oh, well, how about we provide you with a market analysis? Oh, well, I'm not going to be moving for a while. Well, we'll happily email you a preliminary market analysis that will at least give you an idea of what your home will sell for. Would that be helpful? Okay, great. All right, well, which email address should I send it to? And then all of a sudden, we have more of a connection with that person.
No doubt.
Put them on top market snapshot.
No doubt.
And just really stay in front of them for the however many months or years it takes for them to sell their house.
You got it, brother. Alan, quick thought to wrap us up. By the way, Alan, if you have that time, I'm going to put you in the hot seat with Patrick when I'm gone, in a way. I'd love you to take on that role, both of you, because you're taking leadership roles training. So give me a final thought here today.
Yeah, again, it hit me context. Why are you calling? Because if your context is off, it's going to seem, we get those calls in real life. You can tell they're sales calls. There's no context to their call.
You got it.
And then, be there to give them the information that they want so that they can make the right decision at the right time. And, tell them that. This may not be the right time for you, but at least let's sit down. Let's look at the math and see if there are options available for you at this time.
Awesome. Brilliant. All right, everybody. Appreciate you guys. You guys rocked it today. Thanks for getting this thing kicked off. That's a real good one. Thanks to you guys. So get out there and practice this stuff. We'll see everybody next week. Thank you, guys. See you later.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thank you, online. Thanks for being here.